Welcome, brave hobbyists, to the Unpainted Horde, the podcast dedicated to celebrating and sometimes lamenting the glorious world of tabletop miniatures. I'm Finn.
And I'm Luna. We're here to wallow in the plastic shame alongside you and talk about some of the biggest and smallest miniatures games out there and all those in between. Each week, we'll be diving into rule sets, miniature ranges, painting tips, and everything else that fuels our plastic crack addictions.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are stepping onto a battlefield, well, a brutal battlefield, that is, where death is nothing more than a temporary setback. Get ready, everyone, to explore Brutality Skirmish Wargame, a game that's all about fast-paced skirmishes and strategic miniature combat. Now, you're a miniature gamer listening to this, and we're going to break down everything you need to know about this game, the lore, unit creation, combat and campaigns, all that good stuff.
Yeah, one of the coolest things about Brutality, I think, is the setting. It's not just your generic fantasy world. We are talking about a realm created by Ishtar, the Sumerian goddess of war and love.
Oh, interesting.
But this isn't, the lovey-dovey Ishtar you might have read about. This is Ishtar scorned, vengeful, and she's using this brutal realm to regain her power.
So we got a goddess with a serious grudge. How does that translate to the actual game world?
Think of it as a cosmic prison. Ishtar has snatched victims from different times and dimensions and trapped them in this brutal realm. The landscape itself is constantly shifting. Altars to Ishtar appear and disappear. And to top it all off, death is just a revolving door.
Oh, wow.
You die, you wake up back where you last slept, but with all the memories of your gruesome demise.
Oh, man.
It makes you wonder if it's even worth fighting sometimes.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff. And what about the inhabitants of this realm? Who are we commanding in this brutal battle for survival?
Oh, you've got a whole smorgasbord of factions to choose from, 10 major ones to be precise.
Okay.
Each faction has its own unique backstory, motivations, and playstyle, making for some really interesting matchups.
Okay, lay it on me. What kind of factions are we talking about?
Well, let's start with Ephron's Consortium. Imagine a criminal syndicate with a taste for high-end fashion. They control the realm's economy through a mix of legitimate business and good old-fashioned racketeering.
Right.
Think of them as the stylish gangsters of the Brutality.
Ooh, I'm intrigued already. What other factions can I explore?
Well, if you're looking for something a bit more spiritual but definitely not peaceful, there's the Cult of the One Mother. These are Ishtar's diehard fans, convinced they're doing her divine work, even if that means sacrificing a few folks along the way.
Sacrifices, shifting landscapes, vengeful goddesses. This is sounding less like a game and more like a heavy metal album cover. What other delightful factions can I choose from?
Let's see. There's the Khajiit Matrix, robots and androids desperately trying to survive in a world where they can't reincarnate.
Oh.
Since death is just a temporary inconvenience for most, the Khajiit are constantly on the hunt for spare parts, making them a surprisingly resourceful and resilient force.
A bunch of scrap heap warriors fighting for survival. That's a cool twist on the classic robot faction. Who else is battling for supremacy in this crazy realm?
You've got the Oathsworn, a band of warriors dedicated to bringing some semblance of order to this chaotic world. They're all about justice, retribution, and keeping the peace, often through extremely violent means.
So they're the closest thing to good guys in this brutal free-for-all.
I wouldn't necessarily call them good, but they definitely have a strong moral code, even if it's based on an eye for an eye mentality.
Fair enough. Who else is vying for power in this divine demolition derby?
Well, you've got the Grand Order Zenith, a faction of elite warriors who literally live above it all in their sky cities. They see themselves as superior to the ground dwellers, and they're not afraid to show it. Then there's the Brotherhood of Wayfinders, a secretive group dedicated to finding a way to escape the Brutality and bring down Ishtar.
So they're the rebels, the freedom fighters of the Brutality.
You could say that, but they're also shrouded in mystery, and their methods can be pretty ruthless.
Intriguing. Who else can I recruit into my warband?
Don't forget the Beast Kingdoms.
Oh, right.
This faction represents a diverse coalition of animal men fighting for their very survival against, well, everyone else who wants to eat them.
Right. Makes sense.
And then there's the Blood and Salt Trading Co.
Okay.
Ruthless merchants who profit from the chaos.
So we got Sky City elites, rebels, and even animal men struggling to survive. This is shaping up to be quite the diverse battlefield. Is there anyone else I should know about?
We've also got the Legios Broadwater, a military force forged from the realm's most brutal conflicts, and the Collegium Incernus, a faction of necromancers and scientists pushing the boundaries of life and death, sometimes in pretty disturbing ways.
Right.
And let's not forget the countless minor factions, merchants, mercenaries, and religious zealots, all adding to the chaos and unpredictability of the brutality.
Wow, you weren't kidding about a smorgasbord of factions. It's like a chaotic melting pot of warriors, monsters, and mad scientists. But enough about the lore for now. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of gameplay. You mentioned this is a fast-paced skirmish game. How does a typical game actually play out?
Right, so a game of Brutality typically takes between 30 minutes to an hour. It's all about quick thinking and tactical maneuvering. You and your opponent take turns activating your models, trying to outmaneuver and outgun each other.
Okay, sounds straightforward enough. So I activate all my guys, then my opponent does the same.
Not quite. Instead of activating all your models at once, you and your opponent take turns activating one model at a time.
Okay.
This back and forth creates a really dynamic and interactive experience.
So I gotta think on my feet and react to my opponent's moves. I like it. But what about the combat itself? How does that work?
Combat in Brutality is all about, well, brutality. It's not just about rolling dice to see who hits harder. It's about inflicting wounds, causing injuries, and breaking your opponent's spirit.
Okay, I'm listening. How do I unleash this brutality on my enemies?
First, you need to determine the line of sight. You can only attack what you can see, and cover plays a big role in determining who gets the advantage.
Makes sense. So no shooting through walls or hiding behind flimsy bushes. What happens when I have a clear shot?
Then it's time to roll some dice. You roll to hit, taking into account factors like range, cover, and any special abilities your model might have.
Okay, so far so good. But this is brutality, right?
Yeah.
Gotta be more to it than just seeing who rolls higher.
You got it. This is where the wound chart comes in. It's not just about reducing your opponent's hit points. Every successful hit has the potential to cause all sorts of nasty effects.
Give me the gory details. What kind of wounds can I inflict on my enemies?
We're talking about disarming blows, blinding strikes, knockdowns, even psychological trauma. You can cripple your opponents, leaving them vulnerable to further attacks.
So it's about more than just killing my opponent's models. I can strategically disable them, making them less effective in combat. That adds a whole new layer of strategy to the game.
Exactly. And it makes the game feel incredibly thematic. You really get a sense of the brutality of this world and the lasting impact of every encounter.
This is sounding more and more interesting. So I've picked my faction. I understand the basic flow of the game. Now, how do I actually build my army? What's the unit creation process like in Brutality?
Well, first you need to choose the models you want to include in your warband. You've got 4 main model classes to work with: melee, fast, ranged, and support. Each class has its own strengths and weaknesses, and you'll need to carefully balance your warband to cover all your bases.
Okay, so classic tabletop wargaming roles. But I'm guessing there's more to it than just picking a bunch of swordsmen and archers.
You bet. In Brutality, you don't just field generic units. You get to customize each model with upgrades, traits, and abilities, making them truly unique.
I like where this is going. So how does this customization work? Walk me through the process.
Sure. Let's say you start with a basic melee model. You can upgrade that model into a specialized role like a berserker, known for their raw power and ferocity. They get bonuses to their attacks when they're surrounded by enemies, making them a real threat in close combat.
So they're the go-in swinging type, high risk, high reward.
Exactly. They're great for breaking through enemy lines, but they can also be vulnerable if they get isolated.
What other options are there for melee models?
If you prefer a more mobile and tactical approach, you could go for the cavalry. They have increased movement and can close the distance on enemies quickly, making them ideal for flanking maneuvers and hit-and-run tactics. Or, if you're feeling sneaky, you could upgrade to an assassin. These guys are masters of stealth and precision strikes, perfect for taking out high-value targets.
Okay, so I can tailor my melee fighters to my playstyle. What about the other classes? What kind of cool upgrades can I give them?
Well, fast models are all about agility and maneuverability. You could upgrade them to beasts, incredibly quick and able to charge into combat with devastating force. Or you could go for the ambusher, perfect for flanking maneuvers and surprise attacks.
Ooh, flanking maneuvers and surprise attacks. Sounds like my kind of tactics. What about ranged units? What kind of long-range firepower can I bring to bear?
For ranged units, you've got options like the sniper. Deadly accurate and able to ignore cover bonuses. Perfect for picking off high-value targets from a distance. Or, if you want to lay down some suppressing fire, there's the gunner, packing a heavy punch with their powerful ranged weapons. And then there's the pistolier, all about close-range firefights and hit-and-run tactics.
Wow, so many options. This is starting to feel like a tactical RPG. What about support models? What kind of roles do they play?
Support models might not be the heavy hitters, but they're essential for keeping your warband alive and functioning. You could upgrade them to medics who can heal your wounded warriors, or icons who inspire nearby allies and grant them bonuses. And then there's the fanatic, sowing chaos and confusion among enemy ranks.
So it's all about creating a well-rounded team with specialists for every situation. But it's not just about picking the right upgrades, is it? You mentioned something about model traits and model abilities.
Exactly. Upgrades determine your model's role, but traits and abilities allow you to fine-tune their skills and create truly unique individuals.
Okay, so how do traits and abilities work?
Well, each model gets 2 free model traits, and leaders get 3. These traits can enhance a model's movement, fighting skill, willpower, or even give them a special power.
Hold on. Powers. Like magic spells or special abilities.
Exactly. Powers represent a variety of supernatural abilities, technological gadgets, or special techniques. You roll a dice to see if your model successfully uses their power, and the effects can be game-changing.
Okay, this is getting really exciting. What kind of powers can my models wield? Can they summon lightning bolts? Control minds? Teleport across the battlefield?
There's a whole arsenal of powers at your disposal.
Yeah.
You can create barriers to protect your allies, teleport models across the battlefield, heal wounds, summon reinforcements, or even unleash devastating attacks.
Wow, that adds a whole new layer of tactical depth and unpredictability to the game. So I've got upgrades to define their roles, traits to enhance their skills, and powers to unleash chaos. What about abilities? What do those do?
Model abilities are like unique perks that further enhance your models. Each model gets 1 free model ability, and there's a huge variety to choose from. They can grant all sorts of benefits, from enhanced combat skills to resistance to psychological trauma.
Okay, so we've got upgrades, traits, powers, abilities. It's like building a miniature RPG character. I love how much customization this game offers.
That's one of the things that makes Brutality so appealing. You can really create a warband that reflects your own playstyle and personality.
All right, so I'm starting to get a good grasp of unit creation.
Yeah.
But before we dive into how these customized warbands clash on the battlefield, I want to ask you about something you mentioned earlier, loci.
Ah, yes. Loci. These are unique units that add another layer of strategic depth to the game. They represent powerful artifacts, strategic locations, or even mystical entities that can influence the entire battlefield.
So they're not just another model I can move around. They're more like environmental features with special abilities.
Exactly. They're immobile, but they can grant powerful benefits to your warband or hinder your opponents.
It sounds like they could be game changers. How do they work in practice?
Each locus has a set of powers that it can use. These powers might boost your ally stats, weaken your enemies, or even alter the terrain itself. Imagine placing a locus that creates a zone of fear, causing enemy models to flee in terror.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see the strategic possibilities. You could position your loci in key locations to control the flow of battle.
Exactly. But because they're immobile, you need to plan your deployments carefully to make the most of their abilities.
This is all sounding incredibly strategic and complex. But you mentioned earlier that Brutality is a fast-paced game. How do you balance all this depth with a quick playtime?
That's the genius of the game's design. The rules are actually quite streamlined and intuitive. Once you get the hang of the basic mechanics, turns flow quickly and combat is resolved efficiently.
So it's easy to learn, but hard to master.
Precisely. It's a game that offers both accessibility for new players and strategic depth for seasoned veterans.
Okay, I'm sold on the gameplay. But what about the narrative? You mentioned that Brutality has a strong campaign mode. Tell me more about that.
The campaign mode is where Brutality really shines. It's not just about playing one-off battles. It's about telling a story with your warband, watching them grow, evolve, and maybe even succumb to the madness of the Brutality.
All right, I'm intrigued. How does a campaign actually work? Walk me through it.
First, you and your opponent decide on the length of the campaign, measured in Ishtar favor points. The more points needed to win, the longer and more epic the campaign will be.
Okay, so how do I earn these favor points? By crushing my enemies and basking in their despair.
That's certainly one way. You gain favor points for winning missions, especially those that involve altars to Ishtar. You also get a bonus point for completely wiping out your opponent's warband.
Sounds appropriately brutal. But what happens if neither of us manages to completely dominate the battlefield? What if the battle ends in a draw?
Draws are actually a bad thing in Brutality. Ishtar thrives on conflict and bloodshed, not stalemates. So, to reflect her displeasure, the next mission you both cloy will be more difficult. The environment itself might become more hostile, throwing unexpected hazards your way.
So draws have consequences. I'm sensing a theme here. So I win some battles, earn some favor points. What happens between missions? How do my warriors improve?
That's where the home phase comes in. Think of it as downtime between battles, a chance for your warband to lick their wounds, regroup, and prepare for the next encounter.
Okay, so it's not just about constant fighting. There's a strategic layer to managing my warband between missions. Tell me more about this home phase.
During the home phase, you manage your warband, level up your models, deal with any lingering insanity, and explore the brutal realm.
Hold on, insanity. We talked about that earlier. But I need a reminder. How does that factor into the campaign?
Remember, this realm is designed to break people, both physically and mentally. Every brutal death, every horrific experience leaves its mark on your models.
So my warriors are carrying the weight of their trauma. How does that affect the game?
Every time one of your models is killed, they have to roll on the insanity table. This table is full of psychological afflictions that can impact your model's behavior in future battles.
Oh, that's interesting. So my carefully crafted warrior might develop a crippling fear of close combat or become recklessly aggressive.
Exactly. It adds a layer of unpredictability and narrative depth to the campaign. You never know how your warband will be affected by their experiences in the brutality.
So my warband can actually become a hardened band of veterans or a ragtag bunch of traumatized survivors. That's pretty cool. But you mentioned there are ways to mitigate insanity.
Yes, during certain missions, you have the chance to earn blessings from Ishtar. These blessings can be used to remove insanity points from your models, keeping them from succumbing to madness.
Okay, so there's hope for my sanity-challenged warriors. What about leveling up? How do my models get stronger over time?
When your models survive battles, they gain experience. As they level up, they can gain new passive skills, making them more effective in combat.
So my warband can actually become a hardened band of veterans, with each battle shaping their skills and abilities. That's a really cool way to add a sense of progression to the campaign. What kind of skills can they learn?
Oh, there's a huge range of options. They might improve their movement, gain bonuses to their combat skills, become more resistant to psychological trauma, or even develop unique abilities specific to their faction. It really allows you to personalize your warband and create a unique fighting force.
Okay, this is getting me really pumped to build a warband and see how they evolve over time. What else can I do between missions? You mentioned something about exploration.
Exploration is a key part of the campaign, allowing you to delve deeper into the brutal realm. You can send your models out to explore, discover resources, encounter merchants, or even stumble upon dangerous situations.
Hold on. So not only do my models have to worry about getting killed in battle, they can get into trouble just wandering around.
That's the brutality for you. It's a dangerous place no matter where you go. But the risks are often worth the rewards.
All right, I'm starting to get the picture. So exploration sounds risky. What's the payoff?
Exploration can be very rewarding. You might discover valuable resources that can be used to upgrade your models, uncover hidden artifacts that grant powerful bonuses, or even find new recruits to bolster your warband.
Resources, artifacts, recruits. I'm listening. Tell me more about these treasures.
Resources can be used to upgrade your models or buy equipment from merchants who travel the realm.
Merchants. So even in this brutal realm, capitalism finds a way.
You bet. Merchants are always looking to make a profit, and they're willing to travel to the most dangerous corners of the brutality to find buyers.
What kind of goodies can I snag from these merchants?
They sell all sorts of useful items: weapons, armor, healing potions, even magical artifacts. But be warned, merchants aren't always trustworthy. They might try to cheat you or even attack you if they think you're an easy target.
So even shopping is a life or death experience in the brutality.
Yeah.
I love it. It sounds like the campaign mode really brings this world to life.
It does. It's more than just a series of battles. It's a journey of survival, adaptation, and maybe even a little bit of madness.
Okay, you've convinced me. This campaign mode sounds like a wild ride.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I have one more question about exploration. What about these artifacts you mentioned? What kind of game-changing treasures can I uncover?
Artifacts are powerful items, often imbued with Ishtar's magic or remnants of lost civilizations. They can grant your models unique abilities, enhance their stats, or even provide strategic advantages on the battlefield.
Give me some examples. What kind of crazy artifacts can I equip my warband with?
Well, you might find a cursed sword that grants its wielder incredible strength, but slowly drains their willpower. Or you might uncover a mystical amulet that protects its wearer from psychological trauma.
This is blowing my mind. So not only do I have to worry about building a balanced warband, I also have to factor in these powerful artifacts.
Exactly. And the best part is, you never know what you're going to find. Each exploration is a gamble, but the rewards can be game-changing.
All right, this is all sounding incredibly exciting. I'm itching to build my own warband and dive into a campaign. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to ask you, what are some of the things that make Brutality stand out from other miniature war games? What sets it apart?
Brutality really stands out in a few key ways. First, it's incredibly thematic. The world, the lore, the mechanics all work together to create a truly immersive and brutal experience. You really feel like you're fighting for survival in a world where death is just a temporary setback.
Okay, so it's not just a generic fantasy setting. It has a unique flavor and atmosphere.
Exactly. It's gritty, it's dark, and it's full of surprises. And then there's the incredible depth of customization. You don't just field generic units. You get to craft your warband from the ground up, molding them into a unique fighting force.
We talked a lot about the customization options. Is there anything else that sets Brutality apart?
The campaign mode is another major highlight. It's more than just a series of battles. It's a dynamic and evolving story, driven by your choices and the experiences of your warband. And then there's the fast-paced tactical gameplay. It's easy to learn, but offers a surprising amount of strategic depth.
It sounds like you've really thought of everything.
Yeah.
All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. We've explored the lore, the factions, the unit creation process, and even touched on the campaign mode.
We've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to discover in the brutal world of Brutality.
Well, lucky for our listeners, we're not done yet. We'll be back in a moment to dive even deeper into this fascinating game. We've journeyed deep into the brutal and captivating world of Brutality skirmish wargame, uncovering its lore, its mechanics, and the depth of its campaign mode.
We've talked about a lot of strategic elements: unit customization, mission objectives, managing resources. But one thing that keeps coming up is this narrative layer to Brutality. It's not just about winning battles, it's about the stories that unfold as your warband navigates this unforgiving realm.
Yeah, it seems like every aspect of the game, from the insanity table to the exploration phase, is designed to create a unique narrative experience. What are some of the ways players can enhance this storytelling element?
Well, one of the coolest things about Brutality is how it encourages player creativity. The rulebook provides a framework, but it's really up to the players to flesh out the details and bring their warbands to life.
So it's almost like a collaborative storytelling experience.
Exactly. For example, you can give your models nicknames based on their experiences, their personalities, or even just inside jokes between you and your opponent.
I love that. So a berserker who's always charging headlong into combat might earn the nickname Reckless, while a sniper who consistently lands headshots could be known as Deadeye.
Exactly. And you can take it a step further by painting your miniatures to reflect their injuries, their mental state, or even their personal style. Imagine a model with a chipped helmet and a blood-splattered axe, clearly a veteran of many brutal encounters. Or a model with glowing runes and a haunted look in their eyes, hinting at a brush with the supernatural.
It's amazing how these visual cues can add so much depth to the narrative. It's like each model is telling its own story through its appearance and its actions on the battlefield.
And don't forget about backstories. You can create detailed backgrounds for your models, explaining where they came from, why they're fighting, and what their goals are. Maybe your berserker is a former gladiator seeking revenge against those who enslaved him. Or perhaps your sniper is a wayfinder seeking to escape the brutality and reunite with their lost family.
It's incredible how much depth and personality you can inject into these miniature warriors. It's like they're not just game pieces anymore, they're characters in a story that unfolds with every dice roll and every tactical decision.
And that's one of the things that sets Brutality apart from other miniature war games. It's not just about winning or losing, it's about creating a memorable and engaging experience for everyone involved.
I think we've done a great job of highlighting those unique elements. But before we wrap up our deep dive, I want to revisit something we touched on earlier, the optional AI mode. This sounds like a fantastic way to experience Brutality even when you can't find an opponent.
Absolutely. The AI mode is incredibly well designed. It's not just a random number generator dictating enemy actions. The AI actually follows a set of rules and logic trees that mimic how a human opponent would play.
So each faction's AI will have its own unique playstyle and tactical preferences. The Kojite Matrix AI might focus on securing objectives and outmaneuvering me, while the Cult of the One Mother AI might favor aggressive assaults and overwhelming force.
Exactly. Each model class has its own set of priorities and tactics. Melee models will charge headlong into combat, seeking to crush their foes. Fast models will focus on objectives and flanking maneuvers. Ranged models will try to stay at a distance and pick off their targets. And support models will hang back and use their powers to aid their allies.
So it's like playing against an opponent who understands the nuances of the game and knows how to use each faction to its full potential.
That's the goal. And the AI mode offers a variety of scenarios and challenges tailored for solo or cooperative play. You might face off against a horde of swarming enemies, try to escape a relentless pursuer, or even tackle a challenging boss battle.
This AI mode sounds like a fantastic way to practice your strategies, experiment with different warband compositions, or simply immerse yourself in the world of Brutality.
It really expands the possibilities of the game. You're no longer limited by the availability of opponents. You can play whenever and however you like, tailoring the experience to your own preferences.
Well, this has been an absolutely incredible deep dive. I feel like we've explored every nook and cranny of Brutality's skirmish wargame, uncovering its secrets and revealing its depths. I'm honestly blown away by the sheer creativity and thoughtfulness that has gone into this game.
It's a game that clearly comes from a place of passion and a deep understanding of what makes miniature wargaming so engaging. It's a unique blend of strategic depth, narrative freedom, and just plain fun.
I couldn't agree more. For our listeners who are now eager to embark on their own brutal adventures, be sure to check out the links in the show notes. You'll find everything you need to get started, from rulebooks and supplements to community forums and online resources.
And remember, Brutality is more than just a game. It's a world waiting to be explored, a story waiting to be told. So gather your warband, embrace the chaos, and prepare for an unforgettable journey into the heart of Brutality.
Until next time, keep diving deep. Well, that's all the time we have for this week, folks. Thanks for joining us on the Unpainted Horde. We hope you learned something, and maybe even feel a little bit better about that mountain of unpainted miniatures looming over you.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us spread the word and justify our addiction. Until next time, may your dice rolls be ever in your favor, and may your primer coats be thin.
This podcast was created with significant help from Google Notebook LM.